let's go ahead and get into the main event, which is make better videos in-house. And for those of you who may not know who I am, my name is Zach Basner, and I'm the Director of Video Training and Strategy at a company called Impact. And we are a digital marketing and sales agency that helps companies generate more traffic, leads, and sales online. And we have a very, very, very special guest who I'm excited to be co-hosting with today, and that is Andre from Whipster.
Hello, Zach. How are you doing?
Very good, man. I'm super psyched to be with you. You're on the other side of the world. It's like we're teaming up, both sides of this of the world, and we've got a lot of cool things to talk about. So,
absolutely, and we've had some very exciting conversations around this. This is something that I kind of believe in strongly around. You know how exciting it is for brands to make their own content, but also how exciting it is for agencies to help them do just that as well. And it's all about getting results and using videos as a tool. And it's an exciting tool that you have in your belt. So we're going to help you kind of get started. So I work for Whipster in marketing and partnerships. So I kind of help tell some of our customers' stories and then do another, bunch of other stuff as well. We're a tech company, so we kind of wear a lot of hats. And I've been with this organization for a number of years now. So I've seen a lot through our customers, working with our customers, and it gets me super excited around video and where it is today. So let's jump into that next slide and I'll show a little bit about our company. So what we are is a platform for people who make videos. So, we've got thousands of customers and they range from, major media companies to big brands to small organizations and a lot of agencies, freelancers and the like. At a simple level, we just speed up that video workflow. The picture you see right now is actually the promo video that you might have seen around this webinar. And that's us using Whipster. So, you can click on top of the video, make a comment, kind of like Google Docs for video. The editor gets to see the changes, comments to the changes. You can all work together really quickly. It's in the cloud, so it helps, your whole team collaborate in real time wherever they might be. Helps you manage, multiple projects. Our goal for you is to really ramp up your video. And so we're not talking about one a month. We're talking about multiple videos a week. So this is when these kind of tools become super important. Otherwise it's just really not possible. So we help bring everyone in. Sometimes it involves freelancers, your agency. If you're really spinning, then you're going to be making videos for all kinds of departments in your organization. Marketing, sales, but also HR for the execs. So videos are an amazing tool, and we help bring it all together and help you do it a lot faster. We're not video hosting and we're not video production. We get a lot of people wanting us to make videos for them, but we provide the tools for you guys to do it. And I'm sure you have wonderful agencies or wonderful plans in place to kind of start doing a lot of it yourself going forward. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, we love Whipster. We use it here internally at Impact. Our clients use it, which we'll talk about more later. But yeah, Whipster is a very crucial part of an in-house workflow. And so couldn't be a more perfect fit for this topic, Andre. So let's talk a little bit about how we at Impact got here in this position to specializing in helping companies insource their video production. 2 years ago, we were looking at the marketplace and we could see the way that consumers went about making purchasing decisions was changing. And the way that they used video was a large portion of that. The problem was many companies were simply outsourcing their production, spending tens of thousands of dollars and maybe only getting a few videos made per year. And in the end, they didn't have much to show for it. And these companies were frustrated, as many of you on this call may have likely experienced. And the fact is, they weren't developing a culture of self-reliance when it came to video. And they weren't experiencing these incredible marketing, sales, and service results because they weren't producing the right kinds of content and not enough and all of these things. And so we thought to ourselves, what if we could teach this? What if there existed a company that, knowing where the world of video is headed, was able to train companies to completely insource their video production and experience some of those massive results? Other companies said that this cannot be done, but we said that they were wrong. And thus began our journey with consulting and training and producing videos for our clients. And over these past couple of years, the results have been amazing. The case studies are real. The data shows that this is really, this is an important part of this whole video journey that a company can go through. And so we have and most of what we're going to talk about today is based on the framework that we've been using for this past few years of teaching this. One really important philosophy that we have at Impact and why we believe video is so important is because we are all, as organizations, in the business of trust. Whether we're B2C, B2B, whether we're product service, whether we're small or enterprise, we are all in the business of trust. And video is although we're talking about a lot of stuff about video, what we're really talking about is trust. And video plays into that because it allows our prospects to see us, to hear us, to know us before we see, hear, and know them. And that's the fundamental philosophy that we put forth in the way that we help our clients to insource their video and what they should be making and how they should be doing it. So, Andre.
Yes, I mean, such great points, and, you know, around humanizing that brand and using video and making a lot more video to do really kind of to solve fundamental marketing challenges that everyone has. I just want to reiterate why we're here today. You know, some of the stuff you'll know, but I think it's important to reinforce it and to talk about why it's such a timely thing for us to figure out, you know, if you haven't figured it out already. And to kind of like look through that lens. And I think the lens to look at is video is the new document. So, you know, if you're thinking about all the ways you use content right now and create documents or emails or, you know, or PDFs or all the kinds of content you make today, you've got to start thinking about, well, what of those can be replaced with video? And we'll jump into the next slide here for a second. And ultimately, it's because video does a better job. The things Zach was talking about, it really humanizes the brand. You know, when you look at a video, you get a lot more than just text or pictures. You know, you kind of get a whole sense of who they are. You get to meet that person. You get to see what's going on in the background. So there's a lot more information that you're going to get through. I think one of the analysis guys said video saves 1.8 million words a minute or something like that, based on, you know, 1,000 words for a picture. So, you know, there's a lot of information you convey with video. You can also explain complicated topics, you know, much more easily, you know, using animation or using different techniques to help explain those things. The stats don't lie, you know, so when you've got an email, your click-through rate's going to go 2 or 3 times more. If you've got a video on a landing page around a product, you know, they're 80% more likely to buy. There's tons of stats out there showing that video does a better job. So we'll jump on to that next one. And so the things that make this so relevant today is that you now have the access to the tools. You know, they're much more affordable. They're much easier to use. You've got that phone in your pocket. You can create video content, you know, much more easily, and it's really accessible for you. The other side of that is you've got the audience who are expecting video or wanting to watch video. They can watch it on their phone. You know, you can use videos for so many different ways, and know that that person on the other end can view it beautifully. It streams nicely. You know, there's good internet connections. People want to see video on all the social channels. They're searching for video on YouTube. So suddenly you've got this direct access to an audience. You know, this is something that's only really changed in the last few years. You know, you're looking at those social channels adding video in the last few years, and it's gone crazy. This used to be held by gatekeepers, you know, media companies trying to, you know, sell you advertising space on TV or whatnot. So, you know, to have the access to the audience is a huge development, but also to have the access to the tools as well is something that's really, really new for you guys and something that you should be excited about. And finally, you know, we're not talking about making one more video this year. We're talking about making way more video this year. And that's when it comes down to scale and how are you going to do this? You know, for instance, we made that video for the webinar today. If that video cost us 10, 20 grand, you know, or more, we probably wouldn't have done it. You know, it just wouldn't have really made sense for the ROI. So, you know, for video to make a lot of sense for your business, you need to do way more with less. And so that's why, you know, the agency model isn't always the right model for the types of video that we're probably going to be talking about more today. And that's high volume, you know, a lot of video for all sorts of different reasons. And also I just wanted to reiterate that the agencies can play a really important role. That's why I'm really excited to talk to you today, Zach. You are an agency, you know, you're adapting your offerings for your clients. It's all about doing what's best for them, and you can become a partner to them. You can still help them make those shinier videos, the nicer videos. And to be honest, you know, I talk to a lot of our customers who are freelancers, production companies, agencies, and they don't want to be coming into your office and shooting those, you know, those high volume videos. I mean, we go to events, We meet people. We want to follow up with a video, do a quick video, talk about some of the things we talked about. Tell them a little bit more about Whipster and have a call to action. It doesn't make sense for an agency to come down and shoot those types of videos for us. That's never going to work. So the agency can help the strategy and help the consulting, but there's no money in it for them to make those types of videos for you. The brands really need to own that stuff themselves and figure it out themselves and make it really scalable and effective for them. And let's jump into some questions. So hopefully we're going to see some polls pop up. This is basically, we just want to learn a little bit more about you. We've got like hundreds of people with us right now, and to give us an idea of what kind of company you work for, what kind of brand it is, whether it's a brand, an agency, media company, education, government, or other. This would help us adapt our content today and understand our audience a little bit better. How many videos you're making per month at the moment? I'm always amazed when we get people coming back and making hundreds of videos a month. I love that. And what kind of size company you are today as well. So we'd love to learn a little bit more about you. So then as we kind of go through these slides and teach you or tell you, help you learn how to really do this stuff yourself, we can adapt the content so it's the most effective for where you're at today.
Yeah, let us know a little bit about you. We want to know more. We are interested. So there's a series of things that we need to cover today, everybody, and there's a lot of foundational things we're going to talk about. And I know there's some burning questions that you probably have about what it actually means when we say insourcing. When is it appropriate and when is it not appropriate? And like Andre's saying, when does it make sense to engage with an agency and how do you do so? So the first thing, which is what does insourcing actually look like? For many of our clients, what this looks like is producing 2 to 3 pieces of content per week with an in-house videographer. Meaning there's actually a videographer on staff whose sole responsibility it is to create new video content. That also means that many of the folks in-house, the subject matter experts, the sales team, leadership is getting on camera, and they are a big part of the content creation as well. And so we see this really as a cultural shift and not just a simple new program that's being deployed. And so that's what we mean when we say, what does in-house production actually look like? As far as the agency role, our main utility to our clients is being there to help them get over the hurdle, which is figuring this out. We believe in the teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime thing. And that's why we work with these in-house videographers. We work with marketing and sales teams to give them all the tools they need to be successful and help them get over this really sharp learning curve it can be without the proper guidance. And so an agency is at an advantage where they can see what's going on really in the industry and keep up with the latest and greatest of strategies and tactics and technologies and things like that. And so the best role that they can play for you is as a consultative type of approach. Now, what also is available from an agency, and like Andre said, is production that maybe cannot be done in-house or doesn't make sense to do in-house. And we do this at Impact all the time. And it's just quick examples. This is going to apply to everybody in a different way. But quick examples of things that maybe you wouldn't want to insource would be higher production value things that really would take a lot of time and resources away from this videographer or away from your in-house team. And therefore, it would make sense to budget the money to having a production company do that thing. In addition, many of our clients, once they are getting in this consistent content production, they don't want to stop and have to go make an event video or stop to cover, go get footage of something else. And that's when it might make sense to engage an agency or a production company to come in and fulfill those needs. So certainly we're not saying that a production company is not useful or something that needs to be a thing, but that's just some examples of what you might outsource. Now, there's really 3 major things to keep in mind, and I imagine this is probably a large portion of what you're wondering today is where would I get started and what are the first three things I should do? And really, we'll start with what do you need to do in order to have the talent that is going to be your video person, your video owner. Many in fact, majority of our clients that we work with on a consulting basis, we have helped them and assisted them hire a full-time videographer. In order to be really world-class, you need somebody who can own it and somebody who has the experience of doing video. And in some cases, you may even already have somebody there. So you might even be able to train an existing person. You might yourself, depending on what your day-to-day is like, you might be able to do some of these things. Of course, you're adding another hat, so it's not always ideal. It's not always going to work like that. But either hiring somebody or training somebody existing. And then as far as purchasing new equipment, one of the most common questions that we get is how much does it actually cost to do this stuff? And it's very hard to say, well, this is the cost, because Andre, to your earlier point, this technology and it's more accessible than ever, and it's cheaper, and it's just easier to use. And so you could be in a range of $0 to $2,000 if you bought iPhone accessories. You could be in a range of 5 to 15 if you are hooked up with a DSLR type of setup. You could be much more. I mean, you could go as high as you want in terms of what you're bringing in. But really, in the grand scheme of things, if you want to produce a lot of content this year, the investment of making the purchase of equipment would far offset the cost of what it would be to engage an agency to make this content for you. All right, so before we get into our first foundational things we're going to talk about today, I really want to talk about what we want as consumers from video content. Almost all of us, I'm sure, have watched a video before we purchase a product or service within the last few months. Cisco even says that by 2022, out of all consumer internet traffic, now this is consumer internet traffic, not all traffic in general, but it will be video-based content. 82%. It's a massive, massive number. And this means for businesses, we've got to be doing video. We've got to be doing great video. And when we think about what great video means for us, what do we think of as consumers? Many would say, well, it's short and concise. It's educational. It's not salesy. It tells me what I need to know. It shows me what I need to see. And I can hear what I need to hear before I make the purchase. Notwithstanding, one of the most commonly asked videos that people come to us at Impact about is the About Us video. So it's funny, we've got this kind of dilemma here. We as consumers know that we want content that's customer-based, that's customer-centric, that is about what we need to hear and see. But many companies are still requesting these About Us videos. And the question is, why would we continue to ask for these videos when we know they're not as effective as other types? And the answer is that there's a lack of direction. And so we have a series of 5 things that will give you a great deal of direction as you're starting down this road and you are becoming a media company. So the first thing of the foundational 5 is, if I'm going to be producing all of this content on a regular basis, who is going to be in these videos? And the best way to get started today would be to go and engage your sales team. And the reason that usually the sales team is so much more effective than any other team or any other person in your company is that they've heard the questions that customers have. They know who they are. They know how they communicate. They know the common objections that they have. They know how they go about making purchasing decisions. It's fair to say that probably the sales team has answered every single question that the consumer could possibly have. And so why wouldn't we take this opportunity to build trust with the sales team to the viewer, and also take advantage of the many, many questions, all the knowledge and things that they have, and put them forward as the heroes in these videos. The second part of the foundational 5 is, now that we've got these videos, what are we going to be doing with them? Where do they go? Where do we use them? And if we're talking about the type of videos that answer common questions, which, as I mentioned, is really the major portion of gaining this trust, is answering these common customer questions. These are great fit to be used actively in the sales process. So if you think to yourself now, whether you work in marketing and sales or whatever position in your company you are, if you think right now, what's the most common question that you are getting all the time, the most common question that your customers would ask you on maybe the first sales appointment. What would happen if you were able to answer that question in video before the first sales appointment? What would that first sales appointment be like? Would it be shorter now because you don't have to address this question? Would they come in trusting you more because you already answered their question? And so putting them actively in the sales process and using them on product service pages, some of the most trafficked pages on our sites are the product service pages. And so these are a great fit if you're struggling to figure out when or where to put these videos. You might also be wondering, now what should I say? What should I do? What should I be answering in these? So now that you've got your sales team and you know exactly where you're going to use these videos, the best thing you could do today is to start knocking down all of your buyers' most asked questions. At Impact, we have what we call the Big Five, which are 5 ways that we as searchers go about finding things. Basically 5 categories of things. Cost, which is how much does X cost? Problems, what are problems with the product, or what is the problem that the consumer is experiencing? Versus and comparisons, we love to compare everything. So, Samsung versus iPhone, Adobe Premiere versus Final Cut. I mean, we compare everything. And this is a common thing that I'm sure if you thought about it, your consumers are asking all the time. So we need to address those. Best in class, we never search for the worst. So best in class is a big part of the Big Five because your customers are often looking for the best this, or what's the best way to solve for this. And then finally, reviews. So we've got cost, problems, comparisons, best in class, and reviews are usually the top 5, but really a great exercise that you could do today is to go to your sales team and say, could you make me a list of all of the questions that you are asked usually during the first sales appointment? And especially, what are the ones that you're asked that you just, every time you asked it, it's like, it makes your skin crawl. Like, really, I'm getting this question again? Those are the perfect questions to start with. Let's go ahead and answer this video. Let's build some trust. Let's get it off the sales team's back to have to answer that on every call. Now, when you go about answering those questions, there's an important thing to remember is that it's our job to be great educators. If we really want to win trust, if we really want to use video to be a great trust tool, we've got to use it to educate the consumer. So when we talk about things like, let's say cost, let's say that was one of your most common questions. How much does it cost to work with Impact? A way that I could do that incorrectly here at Impact is I would say, well, it cost this much and that would be the end of it. But it would be much more effective for me to say, well, the fact is, really, it depends. And here's what it depends upon. And here is what you might find as you're out there looking for different agencies. Some of them might be cheaper, some of them might be more expensive. And here's why you might find something like that. But it's our opportunity to be great educators and educating the consumer on what it's like to shop in our industry. And so that's what we mean when we say educate. You don't just want to answer the question, you want to use it as a great educational opportunity. And then finally, this is going to be the most controversial thing that I'll probably say on this webinar, and a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I hold firm on this, that we should not be using scripts. If we're really being honest with ourselves and saying we are in the business of trust, we have a duty to eliminate every concern because the consumer will trust us because we've educated them. Well, we can't read off of a script if we're going to look trustworthy. And the reason is, if you think to yourself right now, if you were watching a video and this person is claiming to be a subject matter expert and they are trying to earn your trust and they're trying to do business with you, what happens the moment you realize they are reading off of a script? They lose credibility. And the fact is, they could be the most credible person in the world. They can know exactly what they're talking about. But the moment we realize they're reading off of a script, a seed of doubt is planted. We encourage using script outlines. Prepare what you're going to say. Don't just go in all willy-nilly, but don't read scripts word for word because it will lose the trust that you are trying to earn. And so with the foundational 5, if we can say this thing, we are on a very, very good path to insourcing production. Getting the sales team to answer these most common customer questions, doing it in the best educational way without a script, and then using those in the sales process and on product service pages, we are off to a very, very good start with the foundational 5.
Love it. Nice work. No script. Whoa.
It's controversial, man.
No, I get what you're saying. You know, nothing. I mean, it still blows my mind today when you watch some of those videos that come across as so insincere. It's a guy it's obviously scripted. It's very corporate. And at the end of the day, you know, like sometimes I think people kind of, you know, somehow justify those because, you know, we're a B2B and we need to be very professional and we need to say all this lingo and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's always human to human, you know, and that's why video is so powerful, but also it can kind of make you come across the way that you actually don't want to come across. But it's human to human. You're just trying to build a relationship with a person. You know, they might work for a massive company or you know, want to hear complicated things. But at the end of the day, you're just trying to make that human connection. Every company just has a person that you need to kind of build a relationship with. So I think you always got to think like that and, you know, make it just, you know, think about what you'd want to watch. Man, we're getting some amazing comments in here. I'm loving all these guys trying to solve problems. There's a big demand for video. Everyone's wanting to make a ton more of it, and they've got all sorts of ideas. So that's very cool and different ways of doing it as well. I just wanted to talk quickly around kind of setting yourself up for success. And to me, you know, this kind of reinforces a lot what Zach was saying, but it's about removing some of the barriers. So let's jump into the next. I've got a few kind of common barriers that I just want to quickly touch on. You know, one is video is too expensive. We talked about kind of, you know, how to make way more with less. So that's pretty obvious. But one thing I think people get stuck up on is production value, and quality doesn't equal production value. You know, a quality video is something that has, you know, the right information, the quality of message at the right time for the person watching it. You know, so if I'm following up on a set after an event and I've got this kind of, it's got to be, you know, really quick and talk about really relevant to that event you've just been to, they're listening because they want to hear about, you know, what we talked about, you know, and follow up from that event. If I'm on a page and want to learn about a product, you know, it's actually more about the content and telling me what I need at that moment. You know, I was redoing the bathroom recently, and there's a bunch of things that I needed to learn about, and you know, our equivalent of the Home Depot or something had this amazing resource of all these videos. I mean, it was just a camera set up on a tripod with a builder showing me how to kind of install a fan and kind of and take off all the tiles when I was clearing out my bathroom. So once again, you know, I'm not looking for content that's super shiny and you know, spent months in post-production and spent, you know, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm looking for specific information. So as soon as you can kind of think about your buyer journey and think about the information they're looking for, it's exactly what you said, you know, those common questions, and addressing those with really good information that's relevant to them. That is a quality video. And the way you can measure that is actually how the audience responds. You know, if they're watching the whole thing, you know, we've got some really good analytics these days that you can really see the success of these videos. So, you know, if they're watching the whole thing, if they're engaging with that video, if people are spending more time on that landing page or whatnot, then you're starting to hit the mark. So don't get caught up in production value. We're not saying make terrible videos. You know, you've got to be able to hear that person. You've got to be able to convey that message. And, you know, the tools are out there to make some nice looking videos, but just don't get hung up on, you know, a video has to be kind of, all, you know, the bells and whistles. It's much more simpler than that. Where do we start? You know, people also think, you know, I think this webinar is addressing this really well, is like people want kind of tangible things to take to their, you know, to their strategy. And it's like, well, great, we want videos. In the past, it has been quite ad hoc. You know, you tell your boss, hey, we're going to do this video for this campaign. You engage someone, costs you, you know, often quite a bit of money. At the end, you say, oh, did that work? You know, so that's you're setting yourself up a little bit. That's going to be a tough one to kind of repeat and to get more trust from your bosses and stuff like that. So I think a really good way to start and to lower that barrier is to look at those questions that Zach talked about. You're actually solving existing marketing and sales challenges. So you guys know the stuff. You guys know the things that you need to do to help that buyer. So what we suggest is looking at all the content you've already created. You know, it's like someone mentioned they've got 2,000 products that they sell and they want to make a video for each product. You know, you've probably right now got a brochure, you've got a website, you've got already content that does this job, but video does a better job of it. So when you look at your buyer's journey and the pieces of content, you know, map all your content out and actually identify, you know, some of the pieces of content that you think video will do a better job at. And the reason we say start like this is because we see it as low-hanging fruit. There's probably a bunch of videos that you can get started on today that are probably not that hard to make, that address some real issues that the buyer's having, and you can make a video to do a better job. And as soon as you do that, as soon as you see these low-hanging fruit and get the ball rolling, start producing more video content, and you start seeing the success of it, then later on you can kind of get a bit more crazy, get a bit more experimental, do some new things. But the place to start is just solving existing problems, and hit those low-hanging fruit and starting to get results. And this kind of talks to how to get buy-in. So in the past, you might try and get budget for one-off video. We really want to see people. That's fine if you have a big product launch or you're doing a TV campaign, or I don't think those videos should become less, to be perfectly honest. But what I want to see is way more video kind of under that level. And the easy way to get buy-in is to make a business case. Look at your content mix. Say, man, if we did videos that filled these gaps just to start off with, these are, this is what those pieces of content, this is the job of those pieces of content. Video is going to do a better job. We've got the benchmark. This is how we're going to measure success. Build a little bit of a business case, and start with those low-hanging fruit. And as soon as you start hitting these goals, and engage your team, so engage your boss, engage your org, talk to the wider team about what you're doing, what you're expecting to see of it. So do that early. Once you start hitting some of those metrics and feeling some of that success, everyone's going to get behind this, and it's probably going to kind of grow. It's actually going to probably be more work than you expect. So be careful what you wish for. That's a warning to you. This thing can escalate. And the last one is video takes too long. That doesn't have to be the case. That's almost one of the big points of this webinar today is just finding a way to make it quicker. You've got all the stuff available to you, but it does require you to think about this a little bit. A modern workflow should be fast, efficient, and adaptable. Everyone's a little bit different. So I'm seeing some people renting out their equipment, and that's a very scalable option because they can shoot some high-end stuff one day and not have to invest massively into it, and shoot some other stuff the next day. So it's nice and scalable to whatever their demands are. So everyone's a little bit different. You're going to engage agencies. You're going to engage freelancers that do some animation for you. So everyone's different. You need a workflow that is adaptable, fast and efficient. And this will take us to the next slide here, Zach. What the outcome that I want to see a lot of people today is just to have a little bit of thought on the workflow. So you're probably jumping into video. Some of you guys have actually already on your way. Already churning out some amazing content. So that's great. But you really have to think about workflow from day one. It's not like you have to design it perfectly because it's always going to change as you go. But we see, I've seen this firsthand with tons of our customers around having a little bit of effort put into a workflow that is scalable, that grows with them, that is wildly fast. These guys come back to us and they and I love hearing these stories from our customers. They like a company like Sephora, they hired one person in-house. They said, let's invest more in video, and hired one person in-house to kind of build a bit of a strategy. They were renting out a studio once a month, shooting a bunch of content in that one day that they'd kind of, that they'd publish over that next month or two. And then so they'd have one day in the studio a month, create a bunch of content. They started, the first year they came to Whipster, they made 24 videos that year. I think last year they almost topped 1,000. So building something that's scalable, having kind of the foresight to design a bit of a workflow that can grow with you, that pulls everyone in from, all these different workflows involve a bunch of different people. You need to get sign off from marketing or legal or whoever else. If you're making one video a month, fine, meet up in a room and look at it together. We still don't recommend that, but using something like Whipster means you can send a link, they can watch the video on their own time, they can approve it. This all happens in real time. You can collaborate, with outsourced resources. Everyone loves to get engaged, have an opinion, and that's going to help you grow. I'm telling you, when these people put a little bit of effort into the workflow, it's a big part of their success, and it becomes a real competitive advantage. And we've seen it time and time again. Honestly, it's something to really think about.
Yeah. Tools like Whipster. So we require our clients to actually use Whipster when we're consulting with them, just because we know it's going to have a huge impact on the way that we're able to collaborate with each other. But also internally, without a system that essentially eliminates email communication from the feedback process is huge. Like if you're really talking about, you want to make 2 to 3 pieces per week, you want to be doing a lot of video. This is a major hurdle, which is the communications part. And so, yeah, Whipster is incredible. I was
going to say, we talk to people that are like, I'm the fastest editor in town, and they can, your video creative can churn out the content. But if you don't have people reviewing it and approving it and the other areas of that workflow happening equally as fast, then it's all for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And being able to go straight for me personally, being able to go from Premiere directly into Whipster and immediately start sharing it is a huge, huge time saver. So yeah, I mean, Whipster, like I said earlier, Whipster is such an important part of this just insourcing conversation anyways, just because it eliminates that really crucial thing, which is the communication aspect that happens in post-production.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, now that we've got some of the foundational stuff out of the way, you're probably going, well, wow, okay, I think I want to start doing this. I want to be able to produce multiple videos per week. I want to be able to get my sales team on camera. I want to start doing all these things. The problem is without the proper framework, it can be very difficult. And we recognize this at Impact, and we came up with a system, a framework that leads to more effective video content. It helps viewers retain information. It helps them remember the company who they're watching. It moves them to action after they're done watching the content. And the most beautiful, beautiful thing about the Video 6 is we designed it in a way that it's a reusable, repeatable framework that you are literally filling in the blanks of the framework. And once you've got these 6 things, now you're not going to use all 6 of them every time, but it's 6 elements from beginning to the end of a video that if you use them correctly, you will have a more engaged viewer. You're going to move your viewers to action, and you're just going to have a more effective video experience. And so these 6 elements, which I'm going to break down one by one, so we're going to talk first about how to hook viewers. So within the first 10 seconds, what are you doing to keep them watching? What are you doing to let them know that they're in the right place? We're going to talk about how to use logo bumpers to brand your video, how to use intros that further reinforce why they should keep watching and build credibility for your subject matter expert, how you use segments to make sure that the viewers are retaining information, using calls to action to actually move the viewer to now do the next best thing for them, and then finally how to finish strong with an outro. And so let's start first with our teaser. And the idea with the teaser, as I mentioned, is that within this first 10 to 30 seconds, you've got to hook the viewer and really give them a compelling reason to stick around. There's tons of different ways you could do this. One of my favorite methods is the APP method to write great teasers. And it's an acronym. It just stands for Agree, Promise, and Preview. And essentially, you're filling these blanks in. So what's a statement that the viewer would agree with? In this particular example I've got here, at the end of the day, nothing feels better than putting your feet up and relaxing. Who doesn't agree with that? That's awesome. The second part is the promise. So giving them, how are we going to solve this problem, or what are we going to talk about, or what's in this video? So in this video, we're going to talk about the 3 things that are essential to your health in every recliner. We've got a very clear expectation of what's coming. And then finally, with our preview statement, we've got those 3 things are feet elevation, lumbar support, and body fit. Given these 3 lines, which is probably less than 10 seconds at the beginning, the viewer clearly knows what we're talking about. They have a compelling reason to stick around, and it's presented in a way that keeps it concise, but will hook the viewer. Once again, it's called the APP method: Agree, Promise, and Preview. So there's our first, let's say, 20 seconds of our video. Now the next element that would happen is called the logo bumper. And the logo bumper is something that we've all seen before. It is usually just a motion graphics version of your logo, or of the title of the video, or of the thing. The reason these are so important is because the viewer needs to know who they're watching the content from. And also we need them to remember you. And so these are very short, less than 10 seconds long. If you want to do it yourself, you can download templates from Video Hive, which is a great resource. If you want to pay for this to be done for you, your logo bumper to be custom made for you, you can get on sites like Fiverr. You can engage an agency if you don't want to do that. But like I said, this is usually just motion graphics, very quick, very simple. So now we've got roughly 40 seconds of our video. Now we move straight into our introduction, which is the third element of the video 6. This is our opportunity to establish credibility for the person who's in the video. So for instance, this might go, hey, I'm Zach from Impact. Welcome back to our channel. Today we're talking about X, Y, and Z, and I might talk a little bit about why I'm qualified to talk about it, or what my background is with that thing, or what my philosophy is on that thing. But whatever it takes to make sure that the viewer understands who they're speaking with and why they should continue to listen to what they have to say. Next, we've got our segments, and these are arguably some of the most important elements of the video 6 and of your video, because it makes a massive difference, especially when you talk about being a great educator. Segments are like chapters of a book. A book wouldn't be very good if it didn't have any page numbers or breaks in the text. If you opened a book and all it was just text from beginning to end, you would likely not have a very good time reading that book. And it's the same way that we should look at video content. If we have a concept we're trying to explain, or we have things that we want to talk about, we can divide them up into smaller chunks. Many videos will have multiple segments in them. But it's important for us to divide these, because I want you to think to yourself, if maybe you've watched a longer video lately that's maybe on the longer side, 6 to 8 minutes, what happens, no matter how great that content is, what happens usually when you get to around 2-3 minute mark? Are you still fully engaged? Are you still not thinking about what you want for lunch? There's things that we start to get distracted by. And that's fine, but we as creators have to combat that. And segments are our best way of doing so. Oftentimes, I advise that you use segments in a way that somebody would ask them. So as you're covering multiple things, cover it as a question. Now we've got pretty much the meat of our video here. We've got the 4 elements leading up to now is our call to action. With calls to action, they can take many, many forms. But if there's nothing more that I tell you today about calls to action, I want you just to remember these 2 things. That we don't want to give vague calls to action. We don't want to say things like, if you want to learn more, go to our website. That sounds like work. That is going to have a very low percentage of conversion if you just say, if you do this, go to our website and find what you're looking for. That ain't cool, y'all. There's a better way. Use something specific. If you want to learn more about our offering, our X offering, click the link in the description below. You'll be taken to this page where you can learn more about it. Like the best thing we can do is give them the next best step, not just leave it open-ended. So when you're thinking about the end of these videos, what are you telling them specifically to do? What's the most helpful thing that you can do for them? And then finally, can we show it? If you're telling them to go to a page, show what that page looks like in the video. If you're telling them to come to the store, show them what the store looks like. Give them a visual cue of what this thing looks like. Is it easy to do? Does it look appealing to do? You're going to have a way higher conversion rate in your calls to action if they're specific and I can see them. And then last but not least, your outro is your moment to leave this viewer with the last thing that you want them to remember about you. And at the end of my videos, I just have a signature sign-off that at some point I made up. And I just say, until I see you next time, keep learning. But it's a branded thing for me. I want it to be a call to action, which is go out there and keep learning. And I want my viewers to remember that I'm there to educate them. Some of our clients have done just funny little joke type things at the end of their video to keep it light and friendly and keep it fun. But this is that last thing. What do you want them what's the last thing you want them to remember? What's the thing that you want them to leave with? Is the essential ingredient of a great outro. And so as a review, the video 6 elements from beginning to the end of a video, which are used to help people retain information, call our viewers to action, help them remember who they spoke with, and using all these elements is going to help you create really effective videos. It's a repeatable process. Now, just to bring everything home from what we've covered today, we talked a lot about video and we talked about strategies and tactics. But the idea here is that video is our best tool to gain trust. And the reason why this insourcing thing is even important, and the reason why creating all this video is important, and the reason why our customers need it is because they want to trust us, and we need them to trust us. We're all in the business of trust. And the reason why we should be using more video in sales, more video in marketing, is because if these prospects and our customers can see us and hear us and know us before we see, hear, and know them, we're well on our way to earning that trust in an honest way. All right, Andre, before we open this up for questions and a few little closing remarks, did you want to jump in here at all?
Yep. I think we should jump into the questions. I've just been kind of looking at some of the comments and
awesome. Really great. Stuff, yeah, so. just a couple more things before we jump into questions then. Yeah, if y'all want to keep up this learning adventure with us at Impact, we have a great community of in-house videographers, in-house marketers, salespeople who are doing video. Join our Facebook group, our private Facebook group. We keep it private so that we can keep it valuable. So look us up on Facebook, Film School for Marketers. Look us up on YouTube. We have a lot of great content on there. And we just started the Film School for Marketers podcast 2 weeks ago. So jump on iTunes, jump on Spotify. Just keep up. We want to help you solve this in-house video problem. And that's what Film School for Marketers is all about. Now, given everything that we've talked about today, there's one major thing that we see that will slow this process down or cause this, what might be considered a program to fail and it not truly becoming a culture of in-house video. And that is not having everyone bought in and not having everybody not understanding how they can contribute and help make this work. I mean, buy-in from the top down, from leadership, just like Andre was mentioning earlier, buy-in from leadership all the way down. The entire marketing team, the entire sales team, the entire service team, understanding how video is going to help them have better relationships with prospects and customers and earn more trust. We developed a workshop specifically to solve this, to get everyone on board, to get everyone on camera and comfortable with it, and to really learn the systems and frameworks to create multiple videos per week. And it's called the Video Marketing and Sales Workshop. For the viewers of this webinar, we're doing an exclusive discount just for y'all. Just mention this when you're speaking with us. We have 1 and 2 day options. We'll knock a significant portion off of that for you as long as you come and book with us by March 30th. But this is an incredible thing that's going to help you gain more momentum. Make sure everybody understands that this isn't a program. This is a cultural shift, and really work towards getting that trust and have a lot of momentum.
When I talk to some of our most successful customers, it often comes down to one internal champion. You know, like it's amazing how someone's got to own it, and someone's got to drive it, and someone's got to get be the kind of internal champion to get that buy-in. And it's like if you look a few years later, and it all comes down to that one person that got this thing started, and they can be so much more advanced in 1 or 2 years. It's unbelievable.
That's right. We have a ton of great questions and comments to get to. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, we do. I can start going through them, but I mean, chat has been awesome. I've been taking tons of notes in the background, so I hope everyone else has. And I think for me, my biggest takeaways have been, for you, Zach, you mentioned that when you're answering questions in your videos, you don't give them the answer. The purpose is to educate them as to why, the answer is the answer, and to make sure that they fully understand the concept up front, rather than just giving it to them plain and simple and having them interpret it on their own. And I also thought it was funny that once you gave point number 5 about not using a script, that everyone in chat was like going crazy to be like, yes, I totally agree, or no, maybe you should do this. And it was just so funny how controversial it is still, but
we ruffled some feathers.
Yeah. But it was good feathers. And then Andre, like you said, absolutely creating a video workflow that is scalable, that is fast, that enables you to keep making video within your organization, I think is like incredible. It's very easy just to, think of it as this big laborious process, and you make one video and then you don't want to make any more videos. But if you can just, even figuring out like once a quarter, if you can just sit down and try to, hammer out like what's going on in sales and what questions you could be answering on your website with a video, I mean, and you're just set up at that point, and your sales team is going to be happier, your marketing team is going to be happy, and it's just a win-win situation. So I'll jump right into the questions. We have a ton of them, and I don't know if we'll get to all of them, but we will try. First one was from Mark, and he said, what's the difference between Whipster and Vimeo's video review?
We have a great integration with Vimeo, actually, so you can publish directly to Vimeo. Vimeo's review, they've kind of just built it more recently. It gives all the comments down the side, so it's not actually on top of the video. So in Whipster, when you're watching it, it's right on top of that frame. So we have frame accurate commenting. Theirs is kind of a list next to it. And we have a ton more features around kind of managing the projects. They all have different stages. If they're in editing or they're ready for publish, they're approved. So we go a lot deeper into the workflow. Theirs is kind of an add-on. It's a bit lighter. It can still do the job for some people, but it's typically much lighter and not quite as user-friendly. We've designed ours specifically for clients and people that are non-technical, because the editors are used to 1 million buttons and complexity. So ours is the easiest to use out there, and it has a lot more features than them. But I'd recommend just going to go try it out. Go try out both of them. Go over to whipster.com and take a free trial and have a look and see what's right for you. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Andre. Next question is from Marie. She said, love video. However, our buyers want an interactive experience, and she asked if there's any recommendations for searchable video technology. Not sure if you guys have heard of that before.
There are some, I mean, I should, do you know some good tools? Because there are some really good interactive video out there where you can kind of click on the products that they're using and kind of go and buy them. I'm not sure what she means about searchable.
Yeah, Marie, if you're still in or joining us today, maybe clarify your question in chat, and we can come back to that question. Peter asks, how do you use/work with outline scripts? I guess he means like if you're trying to.
I'll take this one.
Yeah.
So let's say, as a practical example, you're making a video about cost. Let's just say, how much does video production cost? First thing we do is we sit down and go, what are all the major points that would go into that? What are the major factors of the cost? So it might be the amount of videos that are being produced, the amount of videographers on site, the amount of whatever. These are all the factors that we're going to address in this video. And so each one of those will be a segment. So like we just talked about segments, each one of those factors would be a segment. And then we would bullet out what are the things to say about that segment, or the points you want to make about that segment. And it's literally just in bullet form, just to make sure that everything is covered and not necessarily to get it down for how it's to be said. Like I mentioned, this needs to be conversational and needs to flow like a normal answer would. And so that's how you would use a script outline.
Great. Thanks, Zach. Duffy asks, and I think this is what he meant to ask, is what do you think about adding testimonial videos, or maybe adding testimonials to your videos? I think I know the answer to that, but.
Well, I mean, how powerful is it to hear from an actual customer? So testimonials, serve a great purpose in the buyer's journey. Again, it's about mapping out the buyer's journey. Typically, a testimonial is more to do with the consideration phase. So you're not necessarily going to have a in-depth testimonial, at the top of the funnel on Facebook or trying to capture someone's attention in the first couple of seconds. But if you've got somewhere where they're coming to learn a bit more about you, and then they can actually see customers like themselves, how they use your product or service, then they're really powerful. So yeah, absolutely, testimonials are great.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that too. Next question is from James, and he asks, what is the easiest way to capture B-roll without making the subject feel uncomfortable? We have to run and gun so much, but we need B-roll over our interviews. What strategies do you have to accomplish that?
Just always be shooting B-roll. It becomes weird if it's like just something that happens every now and again, but if it's something that happens a lot, I mean, I remember just my first experiences of being at Impact, it was weird walking around with the camera, and now I don't even think anybody would notice me anymore. And so just capture it a lot, and over time it'll get more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think try to keep it for top of mind when you're trying to shoot videos. It makes the difference at the end.
B-roll is so powerful, to break up a video and to kind of show the established shot or to get some nice little close-ups. So get creative. And I think, when sometimes B-roll can be great at just naturally showing someone talking before or after the interview, because you're not going to be hearing the sound of it. So yeah, I think to make them comfortable, don't say, hey, now we're shooting B-roll. You just have the camera on, and just kind of get them warmed up a little bit. It's amazing what you can use for B-roll, but yeah, get a little creative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, get sneaky, James. Get sneaky. Be good.
We had an anonymous attendee ask, can a business get the same benefits you mentioned with animated video?
Oh, I'll take this. So, yes and no. Animated videos or animated explainers are really, really beneficial for explaining difficult concepts. Very good for that. When we're talking about answering common questions and building trust with salespeople, building trust with the organization, if you can't see and hear them, then you're not doing that, right? So particularly for sales reasons, you're not going to have the same benefits of trust with an animated explainer, but there may be times later in the sales process or even places on the website where you want to explain concepts and things like that. It's just easy to understand with a diagram or graphics. Then yes. So the benefits we've mentioned of trust, no, but other benefits, yes.
Absolutely. I know we're coming up to time. I'm going to try to get through one more question before we end, since I know people have to jump. April asks, do you think all video on a website, on services pages, for example, should be professionally shot or with, say, an iPhone? You have to use that.
Like that's you can shoot some. There's been videos on Netflix now that have been shot on iPhones, so it's hard to say what's professional or not. It comes down to, again, like how it's edited, how it looks, how it sounds. You want good looking video. You want video that's easy to watch, easy to understand. But it does, again, come down to what the message is and where they are in the buyer's journey. What's the job of that content? You shouldn't have super budget video, but you can still make really good video with iPhone.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and I just want to second what Andre's saying too. It's not so much about the technology as it is about the technique. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could probably make a pretty dang cool video with an iPhone, whereas some people might struggle with a really expensive camera. The camera's not doing the work. It's the video, the person who's using it. So yeah, it's totally possible that it can be professional and with an iPhone, but it's more about the technique than the technology.
And the storytelling, right? It's like, different videos have different jobs. Some videos, people are coming to a product page, they're really, they want to learn about that thing. And that's, you can give them what they want. Some other videos, you need to capture their attention at the start, take them on a bit of a journey, be a bit more kind of creative around how you tell that story, which can be sometimes harder. And sometimes that's when, you leverage, your agency for some of that more outside creativity. So it kind of depends on the job of the video.
Absolutely. So we are at time, and I want to be respectful of everyone's schedule so they're able to get to their next, thing that they have to go to. So I want to thank Zach and Andre for joining us today, as well as all of our awesome attendees. This was an amazing webinar. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to, ping us an Impact Elite. We can respond to them in there for anyone's questions that we didn't get to. And again, the recording and slides will be sent out after this webinar. So thank you, all of us, for joining us, and we hope to see you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Super engaged audience. All the best in kind of scaling your video strategy. It's exciting times. If there's anything we can do to help, please reach out, and make sure you go check out Whipster and kind of to help you on your journey for sure.
Mm-hmm. And Whipster, and Andre, where can they reach out to you at?
Just go to whipster.com, at Whipsters on Twitter. Come talk to us.
Awesome.
And cheers, Zach. It's been a pleasure, mate.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Andre, thank you so much for being on with us today, man. It's exciting. It's exciting stuff that's happening.
Tons of people along as well, so that's really nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.